Back with some breaking news in our politics lead, a major update on that Senate vote to release the Epstein files. Let's get right to CNN's Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Manu, we didn't even know if the Senate was going to take up the Epstein files bill. What is playing out right now?
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, it seemed like this bill was dead on arrival. Just a few days ago, it seemed like it was dead on arrival in the United States Senate. But now it is on its way to the president's desk in a remarkable turnaround, in an extremely fast move here. The Senate has essentially green-lighted this bill to be approved as soon as tonight and be sent to the president's desk. Now, essentially what happened was that in the aftermath of this House vote this afternoon, 427 to 1, just one member of the entire United States House voting against it. This is now on its way to the Senate. Now, there has not been a formal process. It has to be formally sent over to the United States Senate. That process was to take some time to get through the official writing of getting the bill over across the Capitol. It's an arcane process. But once it gets over to the United States Senate, that's when the bill can be read in the Senate and essentially passed. So what we just saw moments ago was Chuck Schumer, the Senate Democratic leader. He went to the floor of the United States Senate and he said, he asked for what's known in the Senate as unanimous consent. That means that all 100 senators have to agree, or one senator could object and slow things down. He asked unanimous consent that for when the Senate receives the final paperwork of the bill that just passed the United States House, that it would be approved by the United States Senate. Nobody objected to that, Jake. So what that means is that as soon as it is formally transmitted, this bill is formally transmitted from the House to the Senate will essentially have it approved. It will be approved in their chamber. There does not need to be a roll call vote. And then it will go to the president's desk for his signature, in which the president has indicated that he will sign, despite fighting this for months, despite the efforts by the Republican leaders, particularly in the House, to try to deny its vote. Ultimately, the president capitulated, said that he believed that the House Republicans should vote for it because dozens were already planning to buck him. And the Speaker of the House, who did not want this bill to come to the floor, ultimately voted yes, which has been a remarkable turnaround, pushed by a handful of members in the House of Representatives, pushing the leadership, circumventing the leadership, forcing this on the floor, ultimately getting the leadership behind this, and now through the Senate in a blink of an eye, and now onto the president's desk. And within 30 days, when this becomes law, Jake, that's when the Justice Department will have to comply to release the files, the Epstein files. And if it does not comply for whatever reason, it has to explain why. But right now, a remarkable moment as the Senate greenlights passage of this bill that has dogged the House in particular over the last several months.
Joining us now, Democratic Congressman of Illinois, Raja Krishnamurthy. He sits on the House Oversight and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. The Oversight Committee, of course, has put out some of these new revelations from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. But I want to start with what this bill would do, which is to force the release of the files from the Department of Justice. And I think my top question for you is, do you trust what the DOJ will be forced to put out? Are you confident that you can trust what you see?
Not yet. I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure, however, from not only Democrats, but Republicans, members of the MAGA base, and others to release the files in full. One of the things I'm concerned about is an effort to maybe amend this particular bill to be able to have the greater ability to redact names and information, which I hear is an amendment that some Republicans want to do. And I think that will just invite monkey business, and we can't have that. I think they should just take up the bill as it is, get it passed and signed into law, and then release the files.
Do you, at this point, have reason to believe that there is more information in these files that DOJ has or in additional files from the Epstein estate about President Trump?
I think so. Basically, some of the files that we have right now have emails, which you are well aware of, that make reference to certain aspects of Donald Trump and his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but we don't necessarily understand the context. And so we're left wondering, okay, well, what else is in the files that could explain that? But if I could just step back for a second, I think the real reason why this passed with such a huge vote in the House is because of the survivors and the victims of the child sex trafficking ring. I got to tell you, I met with them for 3 hours along with a group of bipartisan members of the Oversight Committee. I think that meeting helped to stiffen the resolve of people that we have to do justice by them. We have to make sure that they're able to see these files, which in many cases detail trauma and abuse that they've long forgotten because of that abuse. And so to do justice to them and to prevent this from ever happening again, I think there's a real desire to release the files and then hold people accountable.
Yeah, no, it's very important, Senator. And we're going to have a conversation later in the hour with Gloria Allred specifically about those experiences. If you, in the committee, receive more information that also implicates Democrats, I mean, some of the revelations from the files that you all put out have resulted in Larry Summers, a longtime Democratic official, stepping back from a number of his public roles because of what was exposed. Are you committed to putting those emails out no matter what?
Absolutely. Nobody should be spared scrutiny as part of this particular investigation. I think that at this point, whoever emerges as having been implicated needs to be held accountable.
And when do you think the public can expect to see more from Jeffrey Epstein's estate? I mean, we heard from Robert Garcia last night that there is another expected release coming.
Yeah, I think that they're going to produce it on a rolling basis. And so it could literally be any time. That being said, my hope, one issue that maybe hasn't come up is that, the president could release these files of his own volition today. He doesn't have to wait for this legislation to pass the Senate and get signed into law. He could release it today. And so that's something that I and others are also pressing for as well in response to our own subpoena from the Oversight Committee.
Let's discuss what's going on here with Miami Herald investigative reporter Julie K. Brown. Just a reminder, her reporting in 2017 and 2018 exposed so many of these horrific details of Epstein's alleged sex trafficking ring. She's also the author of a great book I recommend, Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein Story. Julie, welcome back to the show. So hours before bringing the Epstein vote to the House floor today, Speaker Mike Johnson said this. Take a listen.
The Democrats had every one of the Epstein files in their possession for the 4 long years of the Biden administration. The Biden Department of Justice had the files the entire time. And not a single one of the people who are so loud and animated right now, they never said anything about it for all those 4 years.
Is that accurate?
Well, it's not only inaccurate, it's ridiculous. I mean, the case was an open criminal investigation during the Biden administration. They were pursuing charges against Ghislaine Maxwell, as we know. They obtained a conviction, and after that, she appealed. You cannot open up your criminal case files when a case is still open. And by being under appeal, the case still remained open. Also, by the way, we really don't know to what extent they were still trying to hold other people accountable in this case. They obtained a lot more information in the past couple of years from new victims who have come forward, and they may very well have still been investigating other possible charges against other possible people who were involved. It always kind of surprised me that one of the things the Trump administration never said when they came into office, or never mentioned whether the case was still an open investigation or a closed one. And so we're still left wondering what kind of case they were building possibly against some of these other wealthy and powerful people who were involved with Epstein.
On Monday, President Trump said that he would sign the Epstein bill if the Senate passes it. In the current legislation, Attorney General Pam Bondi has the right to withhold or redact any information that would, quote, jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution, unquote. Are you at all concerned that this vote might only be symbolic because President Trump last week ordered the Justice Department to investigate Epstein's ties with high-profile figures who are Democrats?
I'm not only concerned because of that, of course, now they're going to use the "it's an open investigation" card to probably hold back material. But I'm also, quite frankly, concerned about the way this case has been handled from the very beginning with all these FBI agents. The New York Times reported that they were combing through these files. We had the leak of a member of the Justice Department say on camera that they were purposefully redacting the names of key figures, key Republican figures from these files. So there's going to be a lot of questions about how solid these files are when they are released. I felt that part of the speaker's remarks today was an effort to sort of remind people that there's going to be things in here that they're not going to release. So he was sort of setting the stage, I think, for heavy redactions where we're going to see pages and pages of things that have 5 words on them and the rest of the page is going to be redacted. That's the way the FBI files right now look, and there's no reason for them to do those kinds of heavy redactions.
Julie K. Brown, thank you so much, and thank you for your journalism as always. We really appreciate it.